There have been tons and tons and tons of Switch 2 games dropping right now. So today I've got another 12 games that I recommend you pick up for your Switch 2. Now this video is a little weirder than some of the other ones that I've done because most of the time I have games that are on Switch 1 that work on Switch 2 as well as some Switch 2 exclusives. But honestly, I'm looking at the list I have, and I think every game on this list is available on both Switch 1 as well as Switch 2, but some have some improvements for the Switch 2 version specifically. So let's get right into it. Sub for more Switch 2 stuff, but here's the first game, Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree. This game cooks. Let me tell you, this game's really awesome. Coming in from Bandai Namco, this game is essentially a kind of twist on the Hades formula, but rather than, you know, there being one character and you're progressing through the roguelite adventure where you're dying, coming back, going back to retrying, you actually control two different characters, one being your attacker and one being your supporter. And these characters are interchangeable, which is really cool because you can change abilities on them. Their support abilities are different than one another, and it gives you just a lot of creative freedom with the builds that you're using and taking through these games. It's a lot of fun, and it has that one more run mentality that, you know, you get from Hades. And honestly, it's been my go-to Hades-like game. Yes, Hades 2 is out and available on the Switch 2. However, I'm waiting for the full physical release. So I kind of get to enjoy this game and experience this game now while I wait for Hades 2 to come out later physically, so that way I can play that game a little later on. So I didn't oversaturate myself with too much Hades-like content. The art style in this game is fantastic as well. I absolutely love the Japanese theming that they have going on here. It's a very interesting story that kind of deals with some time travel elements. The enemies are very engaging. The boss battles are a lot of fun. I don't find this game as challenging as I do games like Hades. I think this game is a little bit on the easier side, but it's still an incredibly enjoyable and addicting game that you can just kind of keep going. Again, that one more run mentality that I love out of games like Hades is something that you'll find in Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree. And honestly, I feel like this game is slept on. This came in at $30, whether you buy it physically or you buy it digitally, $30. Now, the one downside is there's not a Switch 2 upgrade or enhancement. It's still locked at 30 frames per second on the Switch 2, which is a bit of a bummer. However, it's still an incredibly enjoyable game and one that I do really recommend. Next up, we're going to talk about Stormlancers that came out, and this one is a blast. This is a really fun, another roguelite game where it has this awesome sci-fi anime art style. It's very bright and colorful. The graphics are cel shaded, very cool. It kind of gives me like it reminds me of if Borderlands was like a 2D side scroller. Like, it has that cel shaded look. It is really, really cool art style. The intro animation also super cool. I absolutely love that. But you crash land on this planet, and this little critter that kind of looks like Ori brings you back to life, and you become a Stormlancer, and you go on these runs with a melee weapon and a ranged weapon. You can find different abilities like fireballs and stuff along the way, and you try to progress as far as you can. Now, this game is incredibly challenging, and it has that difficult roguelike scenario where you are constantly coming back and upgrading to try and push farther and farther. But I've found myself on multiple instances, because of the way this game works, getting knocked out before I get back to where I was previously. Like, this has a much higher difficulty level, in my opinion, than Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree does. And I like it for that reason. It's a lot of fun being able to go back in and, okay, what do I need to change about my run this time? And I think one of the most interesting elements of it is you can get these passive abilities along the way where maybe you have increased range damage, but there's always a negative drawback to these in this particular game where, yes, you have increased range damage, but that's as long as the enemies are not right next to you, versus if an enemy gets close to you, you actually have like minus 10% range damage. So it's kind of an interesting like risk reward system that they have with the passives that you can collect along the way, that you really have to strategize about how you actually want to take your perks and how you want to play that particular run. And I really like that about Stormlancers. It's just a really fun game. Knocking out enemies gives you gold that you can use to open chests along the way to find additional items and things of that nature. It's a really, really solid roguelite. I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, comes in at 20 bucks. Absolute steal of a deal. Next up, I have Lynked Banner of the Spark. Now, this one's kind of interesting because it has some fun Hades-like. There's a lot of Hades-likes coming out right now. There's some Hades-like nature to this particular game, but rather than it being like a roguelike where you're going in and then coming back and, you know, upgrading, there are levels to each particular mission that you go on. So some may have 3 levels that you have to clear. there could be 4, and you can do these online multiplayer, so you can play with other people as you're playing this particular game, which I think is a really fun component. I will say that the gameplay here, the combat specifically, feels a bit clunkier than I'd like it to. It's not as smooth as games like Stormlancers or with Towa and the Guardians of the Sacred Tree. It doesn't have that just crispiness that I like out of games that are similar to Hades. It's a little more floaty, and for that reason, I didn't love the combat quite as much. It's still fun, it's still serviceable, but I didn't enjoy it quite as much as I do other Hades-like games. What makes this game a little more interesting than some of the other Hades-like games, though, is that this game has a town builder aspect, which I think is really cool. You can go back to town, you can fully decorate the town, but you can also add new buildings that you can do, you know, weapon upgrades and character upgrades and things of that nature as well, on top of just having, you know, the runs that you do. I think that's a really fun component that sets this game aside from a lot of other Hades-like games, and I like that aspect. It's got both the fun combat and Hades-like gameplay, but also has a more cozy side to it, which I think is a huge plus for a game like this. Really sets it apart from a lot of the other games on the market that are similar to it. Next up, I have Wizordum, and this game is actually so cool. This game is kind of they call them boomer shooters now. I just recently came across boomer shooters as a genre. I never heard them called that before I played them. I've never heard people refer to them, but yeah, it's similar to old school Doom. However, unlike Doom, where you're slaying demons and you're shooting guns, this game focuses on using magic. It's more fantasy oriented, but it has that same fast-paced, very difficult nature that you get from old school Doom, and I absolutely love it for that reason. There are a couple different classes that you could choose from, the cleric or the sorceress, and both of these have their different abilities that benefit them. Like the sorceress has less health but more movement speed. She also has access to different weapons and things of that nature, like fireballs and things. But then you also have the cleric that has more health, a little slower, but has a mace that can go in, and you'll collect multiple weapons as you play through the game, one being like a ice staff that you can freeze enemies with and then bonk them on the head with your mace, and then they'll break apart, and that's really satisfying. There's also a pistol you'll unlock, tons of weapons that you can find while you play through this game, and the levels not only have like a time trial element to them where you can go back and see how fast you can complete them, but on top of that, they also have the challenges that you can go back and you can find all the treasures and complete the challenges on 100% of the levels. This game has a lot going on, and I really enjoy it. It's just a really fun, fast-paced, hectic shooter that I found myself going back to a ton. I really enjoyed my time with it. The next game is Hades 2. We're going to talk about Hades 2. Now, like I said, I don't have hands-on with this game yet on Switch 2. I have not played this game on Switch 2. The reviews are fantastic. However, I have played Hades 2. I have it on my Steam Deck. I played the early access for this particular game, and I had a blast with it. I absolutely love Hades, and I loved Hades 2. Immediately jumped in on that on Steam Deck when that launched in the early access, but I have since put it aside since I played on Steam Deck, and I was like, okay, there's a lot of placeholder artwork and things like that. The game's not finished yet. I want to set this aside and come back to it later. Now it's here on Switch 2. You can buy it digitally right now. Like I said, the physical version comes out in November, which I will be picking up, and I love this game. I think it's absolutely fantastic. The art style is great. They really took everything that was great about Hades itself and improved upon that formula while creating this new story, and the way that they do the story in Hades is so interesting. Unlike other roguelites where it's like, okay, I died, this is frustrating, let me upgrade my character and go back in, dying in Hades doesn't have that same sort of frustrating nature because it feels like part of the story, because every time you die there's new dialogue to interact with the different characters along the way. There is just more things to do. Maybe you're going on a run specifically to collect resources so that way you can do things back at your home base. There's tons of things about Hades that make the dying feel like an organic part of the game versus something that's like, darn it, I died again. No, it's kind of just like, oh, I died, let's see what's going on back in home base. And I kind of like that about Hades. It makes it very different than other roguelites on the market. It's just a fantastic game. I cannot wait to play it on Switch 2, and I'll probably talk about this game again when I get my physical copy, because again, I'm waiting. I'm gonna wait. I'm patient. I want the full physical copy. I'm very excited for it. But yeah, Hades 2 available right now, definitely worth it. Next up, I have a game that I absolutely absolutely loved, and that's Pac-Man World 2 RePAC. I was able to get this. I'm a member of the Bandai Namco Creators Program. I was gifted a code for this particular game, but man, am I happy I got this game, because it was an absolute treat. Now, I never played the original. I think I have like the vaguest memory of playing the original at a buddy's house. I think we rented it from Family Video or something, because I remember the first couple levels. I just have this like very, very vague memory of playing it. I believe it was on PlayStation 2. But hopping into this remake, it is an absolute treat. I loved the whole experience. I played through, rolled credits, absolutely loved my time with this game, and it's got that addictive gameplay loop for 3D platformers like this, where you can go back in, you can find all the collectibles, and 100%ing the levels feels so satisfying in this game, and actually rewards you, because if you 100% the level and you complete all the challenges, you actually get a costume for Pac-Man, which I think is really cool. There's tons of movement mechanics in this game. The worlds are bright and colorful, and there's even a ton of post-game content after you roll credits. It is an absolute blast. Now, I didn't find this game particularly challenging myself. However, I will say there is a definite difficulty spike for this particular game. So if you are a little more on the side of I'm not super great at 3D platformers, just be aware of that there is definitely a difficulty spike. If you're someone that's good at 3D platformers, you're very familiar with them, you shouldn't have too much difficulty. I got through this game no problem. I beat it in like a day. So I really enjoyed that, but again, there is that difficulty spike where the further you get into this game, the harder and harder and harder it gets. So that is something to note if you're not a platforming fan or someone that has difficulty with them. It will ramp up quite a bit, and especially in the post-game section as well, that gets quite difficult. So very, very awesome remake. Honestly, so much love and care put into this. There's so much replayability, whether you're going for time trials or you're going for 100%. The game has so much packed into it, and is just absolutely a treat. And all the callbacks to Pac-Man, whether it be like the retro machines and the retro levels that the game has, or just things that you'll find along the way, it's an absolute treat. I love this game, and I had such a good time with it. Coming in, I believe it was $30 for the Switch version and $40 for the deluxe version on Switch 2. That was awesome. It's also available on Switch 1 to pick up. It's just a really solid one. Next up, we have a game that I'm hooked on. Let me tell you, this game has me. This game has me. It's Final Fantasy Tactics. I got it right here. Where's it at? Boom! Final Fantasy Tactics. I picked up the Switch 1 version. The reason I did that is because there's a free upgrade to the Switch 2 version, which I thought was absolutely awesome. $50, picked it up, upgraded to the Switch 2 version, and I'm having an absolute blast with this game. I never played the original, but the original is still on this cartridge. This is a remake, but there are both versions. There's the original game as well as the remake. I'm playing the remake, and I'm having a blast. This game has that addictive grind your class out formula that I love. I love games where I'm grinding for a purpose. Games like Borderlands, games like Diablo, where you're just grinding. I am a person that absolutely loves that. I call it checklist gaming, where you're grinding for something, and this bright shiny object at the end of the rainbow. And this game has that, because you can grind out the character classes and upgrade your jobs, so that way all the classes are unlocked before you actually progress through the game. And I've done like 4 story missions, and at this point, I'm like 7, 8 hours into Final Fantasy Tactics, and I've done nothing aside from those 4 story missions and grinding classes. Now, this is not the way you have to play this game. You could play the game organically and play it and just unlock the classes normally. For me personally, the grind is something that I absolutely love and I'm hooked on. So it's something that I love about this game, but just the combat itself being so similar to games like Fire Emblem that I also love makes it a lot of fun. And the game difficulty is definitely there. I'm playing this on the normal difficulty, and the difficulty spike is kind of crazy after you get through the tutorial sections. Like, it is very, very challenging as you continue through the game. So I really liked that aspect as well. It's just a fantastic game, and the story so far is incredibly compelling. I am really interested in the story, the way that they've set everything up, and what I'm experiencing. They have full voice acting in the remake, which is really nice as well. Just a really, really awesome game that I am hooked on. I'm continuing to grind those classes out. It's so obsessive how I'm grinding classes, and I love it. I think I have like 4 or 5, maybe more classes maxed out at this point, and I'm just keep going. I keep going. It's so much fun. The next 2 games are both bundled together as well as separate on the eShop if that's something that interests you. That's Mario Galaxy and Mario Galaxy 2. Both of these games are amazing. They are some of the best 3D platformers of all time. They are an absolute treat. And on the Switch 2, they have some improved visuals in the form of 4K fidelity. They look great. Now, if you're someone who already owns Mario 3D All-Stars, I would say you could probably skip Mario Galaxy and just pick this game up and have, you know, Mario Galaxy 2 from the eShop, because they are sold separately. They're $40 a piece on the eShop, $70 for the bundle. I picked up the bundle. I'm a physical collector. I wanted to have Mario Galaxy 2 physically. I enjoy it, and I absolutely love this game on the Switch 2. I'm having a blast going through Mario Galaxy. I never played Mario Galaxy 2, so it's an absolute treat. Played Mario Galaxy in the 3D All-Stars bundle. But it is still fun to revisit that game as well. But yeah, Mario Galaxy 2 is just an absolute treat. Both games are looking fantastic on the Switch 2. I will say the controls can be a bit divisive depending on how you enjoy playing games. I personally cannot stand playing this game handheld. I do not like it. You either have to collect the star pieces by moving your Switch all over the place and using the gyro controls, or you can use the touchscreen. I find both to be just gross. I don't like either way of playing handheld. Some people say they love it. I've had multiple comments on my Mario Galaxy Bundle review video saying they love playing this game handheld. So it's to each their own. I don't like it. I prefer playing this game with split Joy-Cons and using the one to gather the star bits. That's my way to play. You can also use the gyro controls in the Pro Controller. So lots of different ways to play this game, but as being two of the best 3D Mario platformers and 3D platformers in general of all time, this is something that I highly, highly recommend you pick up. I absolutely love both of these games, and they look fantastic on the Switch too. Next up, I have Little Nightmares 3, and ooh wee, what a fantastic game. I'm absolutely loving my time with Little Nightmares 3. It's a really, really awesome game. It's the first time I've ever played a Little Nightmares game. This was also provided to me by Bandai Namco, so thank you for that. This game is a treat. I really like it. As someone whose favorite time of year is Halloween season, I love Halloween. I love horror as a genre. Like Chronos: The New Dawn is one of my favorite games of the year. This game hits all the right chords for me. It has a spooky vibe about it without being too over the top spooky that you're like, you can't play it. Like, you don't have to play this game with the lights on. It's not that scary, but it has those horror elements that I really like, and it is a really fun game. I will say there are some issues with this particular game that people have been pointing out in my comments on the review for that particular game. Like, there's no local multiplayer, but this game can be played multiplayer. I find that to be very interesting and also very odd. You can play this game online multiplayer. The save data is linked to the other person, so if you do play this game online multiplayer, you have to play with that other person, which is a little interesting. But also, just the fact that you can't play this game together locally on the couch is really, really weird. I don't know why they excluded that option. The weirdest thing about Little Nightmares 3 is how this game performs. So I tested this on a multiple different displays, as well as various ways to play this game. And the thing about it is it looks kind of muddy, a little blurry when you're playing on anything with a 60 hertz refresh rate. I took this out to my TV that has 4K 120 hertz refresh rate. And it was looking much better, playing much better there. But the best way I found to play this particular game is handheld, actually, where it's running at a consistent 60 frames per second with just no hiccups at all. It looks absolutely beautiful handheld, and I believe the reason for that is this game has, you know, VRR support when playing handheld, which means that this game has the variable refresh rate, so it's running just so much better handheld, where the dock doesn't support that variable refresh rate, which is a little weird for a lot of games. And a lot of games have this similar vibe where looking at Chronos: The New Dawn, looking at Star Wars Outlaws, all those games are running better handheld than they are docked. So that's really interesting regarding this particular game. And it leads right into the next game, where I love Little Nightmares 3. So immediately when Little Nightmares Enhanced Edition dropped the same day, I picked this game up on my Switch 2 as well. And this game looks leaps and bounds better than Little Nightmares 3. As far as this game's performance and graphics, it looks crisper. It's 60 frames per second consistently, whether you're playing docked or handheld. All around, it just looks like a better game, which is crazy because Little Nightmares 3 is like the newest game. You figure that one would look the best. No, this Enhanced Edition looks dramatically better. I'm loving both of the games personally. I think they're both fantastic, and I'm enjoying them immensely. They're just an absolute treat. They hit all the right chords for me. But yeah, it's weird that Little Nightmares Enhanced Edition is just looking and running so much better than the latest entry in the series. I think that's very odd. Now, after playing both of these games, I'm very keen to see if there's a Halloween sale coming up or something to that effect where I can pick up Little Nightmares 2 on sale. I'm really hoping I can snag that one for a decent discount and play the whole series because I'm enjoying them so much. All of them are worth playing in my opinion, but yeah, definitely worth noting regarding the graphics for these two particular games. The final game on here is Deathless: The Hero's Quest, which was also provided to me from a review code, so thank you for sending me that review code. This game is actually really, really interesting. It's a roguelike game. It's set in this fantasy world, but you play it with cards. So there's multiple enemies on screen, you have your character, and you can unlock trinkets and things along the way that give you a bonus passives, that you can unlock more cards for your deck along the way that change the different abilities you have at your disposal. And you have like a mana system where you X card costs X number of mana, and you get to spend all of your mana however you want based on the cards that you're playing, which will do the attacks or give you defenses and things of that nature, change the course of the battle. And it's a really fun card-based system where you're mixing and matching your cards, playing your hand as you see appropriate to try and get as far as possible. And each time you complete a level, you're able to select from 3 separate paths, changing how the story progresses each time. But there's also an overarching quest that you can complete on multiple runs, because every time you go back, you can then restart the level, you know, and restart the whole run. And it has that roguelike formula that's really, really fun. I really find this game to be a nice change of pace for the roguelike formula, where you are playing this card game that's really fun and addictive, but then also you can change your path along the way. Like, oh, maybe I don't need this particular upgrade, I'm gonna go this route instead, and maybe there's a tougher enemy here, but the reward is so much more worth it, so I'm gonna go this route. I like that. There's multiple classes that you can unlock that change how the game plays, so you can unlock a different character that has different cards at their disposal, and how their combat works is going to be different as a result. I think this is a really awesome game if you're into roguelites, especially card games. This is a really solid one to pick up. It kind of gives me like Slay the Spire vibes. Definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of Slay the Spire. Really awesome addition to the Switch library. I really think it's a fun time, and you guys should definitely check it out. Fun music, fun graphics. The game looks very pretty. The story is very compelling. Really cool game. I really like this one a lot, so definitely worth checking out. Again, if you're into Slay the Spire, those card games, definitely something you should have on your radar. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. Those are the 12 games I recommend you pick up right now on the Nintendo Switch or Nintendo Switch 2, because like I said, all these are available on the Switch. So have a good time with these particular games, regardless of which Switch console you have. But if you enjoyed the video at any point, leave a comment. Let me know what games from this list you think look cool and you plan to check out or are already playing and enjoying. Let me know all that. But if you did enjoy the video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out, helps the video out, and helps the channel out immensely. But until next time, peace.